A Shabbat Shalom Akim, Shabbat Shalom, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders, great millstone of teaching us his truth. Citations to the sincere Akim and Akwath. Listen, may the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Raquai, and back in here with another quick and Lord's will as always, Yahweh Ratiza, an edifying lesson. And for today's lesson, I kind of wanted to read a little bit of just a short account in regards to King David, and the title for this is going to be just Mercies of David. Understanding that we do need mercy in these times, and even prior to Yahushua, David found himself in situations where essentially needed mercy, right? And so I just thought it was also convenient, in these times. That's one of the things that we strongly desire. Because we know the devil is coming down with great wrath, because he hath a short time, and the love of many waxing cold. I saw this clip yesterday, in regards to somebody shot up. I think it was a business, and then there was another shooting in another city. At the other end of the city, and then they shot up this house, right? And I think there was one person injured somewhere. But it really shows you, it really goes to show in these times, we really need mercy, we really need a covering, we need to understand that Yahweh Shai is our mediator, and Lord's will, the Lord has mercy upon us and remembers us, in these times, right? So without further ado, I just wanted to get into this a little bit. This is Matthew 12, and I'll start at verse 1, and I'll just read down a little bit here. And it says, at that time, Yahushua went on the Sabbath day through the corn, and his disciples were hungry, and began to pluck the ears of the corn and to eat. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, behold, thy disciples do that which is not lawful to do on the Sabbath day. But he said unto them, have you not read what David did? And when he was an hungered, and they that were with him, how he entered into the house of the Most High, and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which are with him, but only for the priests. So what's Yahushua really referring to and alluding to here? So let me go to 1 Samuel, because he's describing a situation where David found himself in a situation where he was doing something that was not lawful for him to do, and the scribes and the Pharisees were in that sort of mindset of, a lot of the times they were found out to be hypocrites, because they show themselves to be these particular people who are like Yahushua said, whited sepulchres on the outside, but they were dead men's bones on the inside, right? They neglected the importance of mercy, right? So this is 1 Samuel 21. So this is the account Yahushua is referring to here. And it says, then came David to Nob and to Ahimelech the priest, and Ahimelech, was afraid at the meeting of David, and said unto him, why art thou alone, and no man with thee? And David said unto Ahimelech, and the king hath commanded me a business, and he said unto me, let no man know anything about the business whereabout I send thee. And I commanded thee, and I have appointed my servants to such a place, right? So he didn't tell him like the full details of why he was there, because at this time and the point in the story, David's kind of like on the run basically, and Saul is essentially becoming very carnal. There was a chapter earlier where essentially, he tosses javelins at Saul, and he even had Saul's son was essentially started to make like what's that word? Essentially trying to vouch for him, trying to kind of speak on his behalf, because Saul, he was behaving very, very carnal, right? So this was his condition of the battle at this time, right? So it says, verse 3. Now therefore, what is in thy hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in mine hand. Or what is there present? And the priest answered David and said, There is no common bread under mine hand, but there is hallowed bread. If the young men have kept themselves at least from women. And David answered the priest and said unto him, Of the truth, women have kept from us about these 3 days, since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are holy, and the bread is in a manner common, yea, though it were sanctified this day in the vessel. And the priest gave him hallowed bread, for there was no bread but the showbread, and was taken from before the Lord Yahweh, Bashan Yahushai, but to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away, right? So essentially, David ate the bread that was only reserved for the priests, right? So what is this? You might be thinking, okay, what is this? How does this kind of even apply to me anyway, right? Because David was essentially in a particular situation where the standard of the law, he was not able to meet it at that particular time. He was in a particular situation like, what, I'm hungry, he needed something to eat, right? So how does this even apply to us even in these times, right? Because the scriptures also talk about how the things that are written aforetime are written for our learning, right? So we understand in this particular, you know, captivity that we're in, that there are some laws that you can't keep 100% in this society. You cannot. It's difficult. Like the scriptures also say, "Why shouldest thou destroy thyself?" Right? You being essentially overzealous. And that's the mindset that a lot of these scribes and Pharisees were in. They were very, very overzealous, for the letter of the law, and not understanding the importance of mercy and judgment. Even how Shai talked about this in Matthew, the 23rd chapter. Now, let me get an example, because I mentioned how does this even apply to us, right? So I'm just going to use just a very simple, common example. Let me go to, just bear with me, see if I can find this. I don't know if it's Exodus 33. Just bear with me on this. Okay, here it is. Okay, this is Exodus chapter 31, and this I'll start at verse 14, and it says, But ye shall keep the Sabbath day, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defile it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off among his people. 6 days may work be done, but the seventh is the Sabbath of rest, holy unto the Lord Yahweh, Bashan Yahushai. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Right. So, this is one of the things that this is one of our customs. Right. This is one of our quote unquote holy days. Now, I'm reading this because in this time, keeping the Sabbath 100% in this society is damn near impossible, because we're in a situation where, just like David was, we're in a particular situation where we can't we can't keep the Sabbath 100%, because a lot of us have obligations, for example, just such as working. We have to go to work. We're essentially, like Baruch talks about, we're subject to payments. We're in captivity. So what does this mean then? We keep things essentially to the best of our ability. We establish the law, right? But we understand that, Yahweh Shai's sacrifice is extremely important, right? This is why I'm alluding to the title of the lesson, The Mercies of David, right? Because we know we need mercy in these times, because to keep these particular strict, like the scriptures talk about how it's a schoolmaster, right? But it's really Yahweh Shai's importance. Yahweh Shai's sacrifice is extremely important in these times, right? Because without that, we would have no way to get back to the Father, to essentially, be in good graces with the Most High, right? Um, Let me get. I had a priest that just came to my mind. I think it's First Timothy 2. Just bear with me on this. Okay, First Timothy 2:5, and it says, "For there is one power, Yahweh, and there is one mediator between the Most High Yahweh and men, the man Yahweh Shai HaMashiach," right? So let me just get the word mediator. Okay, so essentially it says mediator in the etymology. It says one who intervenes between two parties. It says one who mediates, to intervene, mediate, to be or divide in the middle. From the Latin medius, or in the middle, it says originally applied to Hamashiach, who in Christian theology mediates between the Most High and man. One who intervenes between two disputing parties for their purpose and the effecting of reconciliation. Ooh, reconciliation. Let me get that word. Hold on. I believe the apostles talk about that's me and made a friend again. Okay, so the renewal of friendship after disagreement, right? Because we broke that agreement that we made. We didn't follow the law, statutes, and commandments that we should have, and this is why the Lord puts hell upon us, and He put a series of curses upon us, right? We did not do the things that the Lord had commanded us to do as a nation, and this is why we're in the predicament, that we're in, right? He put us away, pursuant to Jeremiah the 3rd chapter. It says a re-establishing, reconciling. It says act of harmonizing or making consistent, right? So through Yahweh Shai, this is that quote unquote friendship is being rekindled, right? And that's not with the entire nation. That starts with the elect and 144,000, right? They are the ones that are actually taking advantage of and try to make that rekindle that friendship back with the Heavenly Father, through His Son Yahweh Shai, right? So, let me get. Oh, let me go back to where was I? Let me see if I finish reading all that. Just bear with me on this. Okay, that was pretty much it. Because another point I also wanted to make, even through this different mercy, in this time, we don't hold on to grudges. We let go of a lot of these fruits of the flesh, so to speak, right? Like it talks about in Galatians chapter 5, because in these times we know it. Let me say it like this. We can't expect the Lord to have mercy upon us, and essentially, we're holding a grudge, or we're not having compassion on someone else, right? Hold on. Let me get this here. This is Matthew 18, verse 23, and it says, "Therefore, there Therefore is the kingdom of heaven likened unto a certain king, which would take account of his servants. And when he had begun to reckon, one was brought unto him, which owed him 10,000 talents. You know, but for as much as he had not to pay, the Lord commanded him to be sold, and his wife, and his children, and all that he had, and the payment to be made. Right? So that's kind of like us in this situation. We're kind of like onto that servant. We owe a bunch of money, right? Because we know that we messed up, right? We're essentially in debt, right? So it says, the servant therefore fell down and worshipped him, saying, Lord, have patience with me, I will pay thee all. And the Lord of the servant was moved with compassion and loosed him and forgave him of that debt. So here's that theme, that sentiment of mercy coming back, right? The Lord had compassion and forgave him, right? So verse 28, and it says, but the same servant went out and found one of his fellow servants, which owed him 100 pence, and laid hands on him, and took him by the throat, saying, Pay me what thou owest. And the fellow servant fell down at the feet and besought him, saying, Have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. And he would not. And when he cast him into the prison, till he should pay the debt. Right? So essentially, what he did, right? The Lord, the Lord is pretty much Yahushai, and he had forgiveness on that servant. And that same servant, he went to one of his other fellow servants. It's like, yo man, you owe me this money. He grabbed him by the throat. He probably messed up his collar and all that. He grabbed him up and it's like, yo man, you owe me some money. I want you to pay me everything you owe me right now, right? He wasn't extending that same compassion, that same mercy, that same forgiveness upon his own fellow servant, right? So this is what happens. And he says, verse 31, so when his fellow servants saw what was done, they were very sorry, and came and told unto the Lord all that was done. Then his Lord, after that he had called him, and said unto him, Thou wicked servant, I forgave thee of all that debt, because thou desirest me. Shouldest not thou also have had compassion on that fellow servant, even as I pity on thee? And the Lord was wroth, and delivered him to the tormentors, till he should pay all that was due unto him. Right? So this was his judgment, because he didn't extend that same mercy and that same compassion that what was bestowed upon him, right? The scriptures talk about the Lord is essentially, he has, let me get it, it's in Jeremiah. His judgments, he's full of, like, the Lord pretty much is full of judgment, but he's also very merciful, right? So, and that's one of the things that we need in these particular times. Jeremiah 9. Okay, Jeremiah 9 verse 24, and it says, But let him that glorieth glory in this, that he understandeth and knoweth me, that I am the Lord Yahweh, which exercise loving kindness, judgment, and righteousness unto the earth, for in these things I delight, saith the Lord Yahweh. So we don't boast in essentially the things that we have. We don't boast in how many laws that we can keep, because it's nonsense, and it's ridiculous to do that, because we're in situations where we can't fulfill all those particular laws, so to speak. We keep some, of course, to the best of our ability, but we understand that Yahweh's sacrifice is strongly needed, right? And what we need essentially is mercy in these times, right? So let me just get this last one here, because I keep referring to Yahweh's sacrifice. And it says, First Peter 1 verse 18, and it says, For as much as ye know that ye were not redeemed with corruptible things, as silver and gold, from your vain conversations received by tradition from your fathers, but by the precious blood of Hamashiach Yahushai, as of the Lamb without blemish and without spot. Right? So, this is why Yahushua's sacrifice is 100%, very, very important, right? To rekindle that relationship that, that we once lost, right? Because, the Lord pretty much, was very furious with us because we didn't follow the ways that we were supposed to, right? So, right, and we don't hold on. That's another thing. That's another point I wanted to make was, we don't hold on to essentially grudges. Scriptures say that wisdom can't dwell in a soul that's essentially filled with malice. You know, it doesn't make any sense, right? We need mercy, right? And it doesn't make sense for us to hold on to a big debt or hold on to a problem, because Jake will do that in the world. If you really think about it, Jake will, you know, they would want to hold on. They want the Lord to forgive them, but they're holding on to some kind of grudge or some kind of situation, and not dealing with it, right? So that's why Yahweh is also really, really, important. To get this understanding of how he conducted himself and the examples that he laid out with the disciples eventually becoming apostles. Like, we don't do these things, right? But 2/3 of our people won't do these things, right? Because they don't understand and recognize the importance and the significance of the Lord and Savior Yahweh Shai, right? So, I guess I'll just leave it there. But at the end of the day, we're in a situation where we need mercy, right? Like in Habakkuk says, I heard thy speech and I was afraid, and we want the Lord to essentially have mercy upon us, right? So, I'll leave it there, but Lord's will as always, this was edifying. I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Until next time, I say Shabbat Shalom.